Welcome to this week's episode of the Last Night's Game podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can tell we are talking about the Kentucky Derby because I don't break this hat out just for anything. And here to join me talking about the Derby is my co-host, my favorite brother, Scott. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on. It's almost Derby Day, the most exciting day of the horse racing year, and one of the most fashionable days of the year as well.
I mean, obviously. So before we get started, my favorite game to play when we get logged into the system here to do the podcast is to what the heck does Scott have behind him on the couch in his extra bedroom / podcast studio? And I can't help but notice you have a pink horse on a stick back there. What is that?
A lot of times these items go unnoticed. There's been taco onesies, there's been other items as well. Today we have my potential Derby horse winner over here, if you can see.
It looks like a unicorn.
It does resemble a unicorn, but it is eligible to be entered into the race, likely to win.
So Derby horses are 3-year-old males. Is this a 3-year-old unicorn? Is it a male, or unicorn's male or female? I actually don't know this question.
Derby horses can only run when they're 3 years old, and that's it. I think unicorns can be whatever age they want to be. And
unicorns.
I think
do they have an age?
They do not. So we're declaring it at 3 years old.
Yeah, there's always.
It's great for hobby horsing. I don't know if you've gotten into this trend yet. It's great.
No.
It's great exercise. If you want to waste some time on the internet, Instagram or TikTok hobby horsing, it's quite the treat.
Is it like people riding like those kinds of horses around and
like through
their exercise?
Through like the courses that they do the jumps and everything like that. It's very intense. You laugh now, but
no, I can't imagine. There's no way I can hurdle some of the stuff the horse can hurdle, but the fact that you have to also have a horse with on a stick between your legs jumping over those.
Yes, very, very intense.
So you're telling me these will be funny videos to watch of people falling down?
Absolutely. I encourage everyone to go watch.
Hobby horsing.
It's a very serious thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
When we do our podcast of weird sports, that's going to have to go on it.
Yes, we missed out last year, but stay tuned for this year.
I mean, it's no extreme ironing, but
you could hobby horse and iron.
It's true. Valid point. Well, let's dive into Derby Day. As you already kind of said, Derby Day is obviously a huge day. Parties all over, and it's the fastest 2 minutes in sports, or greatest 2 minutes in sports, whichever way you want to look at it. Blink and it's over. But between now and then, there's a lot of discussion, and that's probably why there's so much pomp and circumstance around the Derby. Now, for people who've never been, you may not realize that there are, I think, 11 or 12 races ahead of the actual Kentucky Derby. So these are actually Kentucky Derby races, but like the actual official one is the last one of the day. So the reason you have people having such a great time is because they eat and drink and bet on horses at Churchill Downs the entire day. So by the time you get to the Derby, just from previous experience, that you might be a little buzzed because you've had nothing better to do.
That's right, because you stand around. I know for our listeners who are new, you have been to the Derby, and you do have to get there extremely early, right? And then as you spoke about, the race doesn't go till 6 p.m. local time, correct?
Yeah, it's late, and yes. And my other advice that if you haven't listened to this podcast before and talked about the Derby with us, do not do a big hat like this unless you're really tall. Because I just spent the whole day running into people with my massive UFO hat here.
Well, did it protect you from other hats being run into your face?
No. If I ever went back, I would do it as one of those fascinators, because that would be
a top hat.
Go up. Yeah, go up. Don't go wide. Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln top hat.
But it's also a really long day to wear a hat.
A hat, yes.
Like, this thing is annoying after a while. Like, to look cute in pictures and for 2 minutes of race.
Yeah, it's a long time to walk around to look good for a TikTok or a reel.
Totally agree. Okay, so talk to us about this year. Who are we watching for? I mean, we'll dive into all kinds of fun things around the Derby, but I want to know who I'm watching for.
And this year, it's an interesting one. I think the person to watch for is not necessarily even a horse. It's going to be a trainer. Oh. And I think even the most casual horse betting, horse racing fans that watch once a year probably know who Bob Baffert is. The beautiful silver locks and the transition glasses that he wears.
But they're blue. They're blue transition glasses. That's kind of his trend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been suspended for the past few years for allegedly giving horses steroids, allegedly. and he was suspended. It's been quite the fiasco for the past few years, but he is back. He has a horse named Rodriguez. It's one of the favorites to win, so he'll be back. I'm sure he's going to get as much camera time as he can, and he's ready to roll.
Yeah, so he had, I think he's had quite a few winners, but he's
Yes.
been out for, like you said, 3 years. He's the guy, like, this is the biggest story of the Derby. Let's be honest.
Hmm.
The
And
horses,
he likes it that way.
yeah, and that's exactly what he wants, because that's how it happens. So, okay, so we're gonna watch Rodriguez,
Yes.
who is looking to Baffert is looking to get his 7th victory at the Derby.
And I believe that would be the record for a trainer.
Oh, okay.
So I think he shares the record right now with 6, so 7 would give him the record, and his transition lenses will be everywhere. Yes.
I do have a question, and you may not know the answer to this. I
Mhm.
don't think so, since we haven't had one in a long time. But has Baffert had anybody win the Triple Crown, which means you win the Derby, the Belmont Stakes, which is a couple weeks later, and the Preakness Stakes, which is a couple weeks after that? Has he ever won the Triple Crown?
That is a wonderful question, and we are currently. He has actually American Pharaoh and Justify, so he has 2.
Okay.
So that's actually incredibly impressive. There's only been 13 Triple Crown winners, so he has 2 of them. So this is actually, it was a great question by you.
Thank you, and I didn't warn you ahead of time to look that up. So I'm glad you knew your stuff. Good thing. Phew, that's why we keep you around. Okay, so that's good to know. So we go on to
Yes.
that, and that's like, it's so incredibly hard to do, because
Hmm.
that's a lot of racing on one horse in very short time frame. So you see, they don't tend to win because there are fresh horses coming into these other races, and so
Yeah,
it's tough.
and typically they get a long break in between races. This one is, there's 3 races pretty much a few weeks apart, which doesn't give them the time to rest. And like you said, not every race that horse that races in the Kentucky Derby has to race the other 2. So you have fresh horses coming in who haven't run, who
Mhm.
want to win and disrupt that Triple Crown. So, and I think life's better when there is a Triple Crown on the line, right? Going into that 3rd race.
Absolutely, it makes everything just a little bit more relevant.
More exciting, yes.
So I have a question for you. This horse's name is Rodriguez.
Yes.
There have been some crazy names previously. Obviously, they don't. The Jockey Club is the one who you have to file your horse name with, sort of like going to the DMV and filing your license plate. Of
Yes.
course, just like your license plate, nothing racy is approved, but certain names like Hoochie Mama and Bodacious Tatas have made it through. I personally like Sexy Pork Chop. I'm not sure where that came from. He couldn't name his pig that, so he named his horse that. But talk to me about, there's all these different kinds of rules around naming a
Hmm.
horse. Do you have a couple of those that you want to share with us?
And the horse could never have been named that before, which obviously is, there's been so many horses throughout the history that, I mean, Sexy Pork Chop,
I mean, who would have thought?
that's, a lot of pork chops are sexy. One of my favorites is That's What She Said. And what she said is one big word. So there's so many fun names. You have to get creative at some point, right?
Mhm.
Like you can only name so many names for different horses. We've
Right,
got
I think,
some fun ones this year too.
yeah, they said you can't have more than 18 characters. They
Hmm.
can't be made entirely out of numbers, all those kinds of things. Now, I personally like 50 Shades of Hay, also an excellent one too.
That's a good one.
Okay, talk to me about the names and the great horses we have coming up this year.
And we'll circle back real quick to Bob Baffert.
Oh, yeah.
Justify was the last horse to win the Triple Crown, and actually his son is running in this one, so he's now 3 years old. So Justify's son, great Gene Pool, obviously,
Mhm.
is going to be running in the race. It's American Promise
I need
is
to
his.
do, I want to see how much it costs
Oh,
to get the Triple Crown winner
mhm.
genetics, for
A
lack of a
lot,
better term,
a
or
lot.
what you're selling that for. That's
The stud,
crazy.
the stud fee,
The stud fee, thank you, because
which
that's
is
how
what.
Baffert's making his money.
Yes. So once they get past 3 years old, they run this, and if you're Triple Crown, they basically put you out to pasture to produce future Triple Crown winners, like potentially our friend here, American Promise. There's one that I know is a special place in your heart. Journalism is currently the favorite to win, as you were a wonderful journalism major.
Yes, yes, and that's why I'd always do things last minute. I blame it on
Yes.
that.
So you won't win much money if you put money on there, but you will win something should the horse win.
It's true. Okay, we'll talk about betting in just a second. By the
Yeah,
way, to follow up, fees ranging from right around $200,000
just
for
for
a
a
stud fee
chance.
for a and this is for Derby winners.
Hmm.
This isn't Triple Crown, this is just Derby winners.
So 200,000 for just the winner, just to have a chance to produce a future winner.
It's a $39 billion business.
Oh, that's great research, great discussion.
So, Tappet, I'm not sure what Tappet has won, is the leading North American sire for 3 consecutive years.
Hmm.
And according to Blood Horse, his breeding fee is $300,000 and he breeds about 125 mares a year.
I'm not a very good math guy, but that seems like a lot of money just to hang out.
That is a lot of
Yeah,
money.
a lot easier than racing for the money, I think,
$37 million.
per year for the horse. Not bad.
Not so bad, hence why it's
Shout out to Tappet.
$1 billion. The irony of that. Okay, so we have journalism. Change the subject. We have journalism, who is the favorite this year, and who else are we watching for? We have Rodriguez, Bob Baffert's horse. We have journalism. Who else are we looking at?
We have 2 horses from Japan. As horse racing in Japan has exploded, it's massive now. It's probably bigger than it is in the United States. Luxor Cafe and Admire Daytona are from Japan. A Japanese horse has never won, so we'll see if they can actually do it. I think a lot of the travel has to do with them not winning. So
Sure.
that's their year. And if you want a little guy to cheer for, we're talking about stud fees. Chunk of Gold was purchased for $2,500.
Chunk of gold.
So there we go. There's someone to root for. I think double digit odds have won the past 3 races, so really the favorites haven't been winning. So,
Interesting.
and these odds can fluctuate like we've spoken about previously, so we don't know exactly who's going to be the favorite, but Chunk of Gold could be fun.
I mean, I just like the name Chunk of Gold. I really like
Yeah,
that. I feel like it should really be name of a bulldog, but I
which
don't
is
know, or
probably
like a pony.
a pony. Well, Chunk of Gold was once young. Now it's 3 years old.
I mean, that's true. Maybe a mini horse. Like
Mini horse,
it
okay.
needs to be chunky.
Chunky. Okay, Chunky of Gold.
I don't know why. Just makes me feel that way. So these horses from Japan, we were talking about travel being an issue.
Hmm.
Now there's a Boeing 727 cargo plane nicknamed Air Horse One, and it comes
Yes.
with stalls, and that kind of keep the horses obviously safe, and it
Hmm.
comes with in-flight stacks because obviously keeping this horse safe on takeoff and landing and pressurized cabin and all that, these horses are worth a lot of money,
Hmm.
and so I don't think a 727 can make it from Japan on 1 tank of gas. So I'd imagine that
Unlikely.
they would have to stop somewhere in the middle on the way to the US. I mean, that's like a 2 or 3 stop flight. So you think
Yeah.
about just the travel that they undergo. I mean, they could have been here and could have been raised here for all we know at this point. So, but it's kind of interesting when you think about that.
Yeah, and we don't know like the effects of horse jet lag. They can't really tell us necessarily how much jet lag they're feeling. So,
That's true.
do horses tell time too? Do we know that?
I mean, they probably wake up when the sun comes up
Okay,
unless they
so
have jet lag.
unless they have jet lag.
Luckily, going from Japan to Kentucky is a little bit better on the jet lag than the other way around. When they get home,
Okay,
they're just miserable.
yeah, true. Well, yeah, Air Horse One does sound like a party though, doesn't it?
I mean, it does until you are stuck pressurized at 30,000 feet with a bunch of horse poop.
Yeah,
I never really thought about that.
I'm not sure the ventilation system how that works.
Oh, well, yeah, because it's just recycled air. So,
Yeah,
food for thought when you thought that sounded like a sexy thing to do on Fly on Air Horse One.
no, I take that back. Yes.
Take that back. Okay, so let's talk just a tiny bit before we wrap. Let's talk a little bit about betting. Now you alluded to it here, and we're going to do a longer video
Hmm.
on social at last night's game, all about betting. But it's a huge piece of what happens in the Derby, and like you said, it's how you keep yourself entertained
Hmm.
during the breaks. So, talk to me about this one I've never heard of before. Quinella? I've never heard of that before.
Well, you're about to hopefully find out what it means. And horse betting is unlike other sports betting where the terminology is just completely different. And if you're only betting once a year on horses, you probably likely don't even know the terminology, which can lead to losing bets because you probably would have won the bet if you hadn't known the terminology.
That's
So
probably true.
we're here to dispel some myths and rumors about horse betting.
Please enlighten me.
So some of the most popular ones, win, place, and show. So if you bet a horse to win, obviously you're just betting it to win straight up, which would be like a money line bet on a basketball game just to win straight up. Place means your horse can come in first or second place, which your odds aren't going to be as great because there's two options. And show obviously is not obviously, but show is third place of first, second, or third. So if you're betting on show, it can finish first, second, or third, and you will still win your bet. And your odds will not be as great, but you'll still win,
Okay, winning.
which is
Well,
better than losing.
that's a true statement, and that's what the Derby is based on, winners.
Yes.
Okay, then
And
go
your
ahead.
your favorite, the Quinella,
Yes.
Quinea, maybe if you're cultured. I don't know.
Yes.
That's when you pick two horses, and if you finish first or second in either order, you'll win. Also known as an exacta box. So there's two
Okay.
different terminologies which can be confusing. So you
Okay.
pick two horses, and if they finish in that order, you win.
Okay. Then an exacta is picking the two horses in one race, and they have to finish first and second in that exact order.
Yes, which exactly. So that's much harder to do with 20 horses in the race. That's nearly impossible.
Well, it's definitely. I mean, people bet on horses, and they, you know, that's a thing you can do from afar, and it's like that.
Yes.
It's a hard one to win,
Yeah, and
and
it
you
used to
don't
be.
win a lot of money.
Well, I feel like the exactas and the
Sure.
trifectas and superfectas, yes. And probably the last one that's probably the most popular is the trifecta. You pick three horses. If they finish first, second, and third in that exact order, you win. So that's essentially like building a parlay for a regular sports bet. You have to get all three right, which is also nearly impossible, which means your odds are going to be great if you win.
Absolutely. And obviously we should note that when the race starts,
Mhm.
each horse will have what's the word I'm looking for?
The lines, the
The
odds.
odds. The
Yeah.
odds. Thank you. I don't know why it lets me. Each horse will have odds,
Mhm.
and those will change throughout the course of the day because it depends on who's betting on what. So something could start off as 35 to 1, which
Mhm.
is a great if you win, that's great. That means you win $35 for your dollar. But there are I think last year we had one that was like reverse. It was like 1 in 12 or whatever.
And that's like a big favorite will be reversed, like you said. Like usually it's like 3 to 1 or 8 to 1. But if it's a big favorite, it might be like 1 to 5, which means you're not winning much money at
Yeah.
all.
You're basically for every dollar you spend, you're
Losing.
losing 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Don't
and like
bother.
regular sports, when you make your bet, that's the odds you have. Like it's locked in. But like you said, horse racing does fluctuate. So it's a little
Yes.
bit different. So people get quite confused doing that.
One thing I love to do at derby parties is we just put all the horses' names
Mhm.
in a hat, and everybody just gets a horse. And
So
that's
there's
way more
no,
fun because it's almost a crapshoot, right? It's
it is, yeah.
because you don't know, and lots of times you'll get one scratched, which means they've been pulled out of the race right before the
Mhm.
race happens. And that I think we had a couple of those last year, if I remember correctly. And so that one's a fun one because it's a total gamble. Everybody has a good time. You're cheering for some random horse. You're yelling for Chunk of Gold, who maybe is in last
Hopeful.
place or maybe in first place. And so it's just a lot of fun to go ahead and do that. Okay. May 3rd, Saturday, the oldest continuously held major sporting event in America. Get
Yes.
on your derby hat, watch the 1.25 mile track, eat fried food, drink mint juleps like everybody and their mother does on Derby Day, period. They're selling about 120,000 of them at the Derby itself.
Just on
Don't
Saturday, is that right? I think.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, that's
If you've seen the people around there, I would not be surprised if it's 120,000 on just one day.
yes.
I think there's about 165,000 people present, and so that would make sense.
Almost a 1 to 1 ratio. Probably a 2 to 1 ratio for some folks.
Well, I mean, do you really trust that there's that much alcohol in them, though?
It depends on later in the day, probably not.
No, they start to
I'm
water them
guessing.
down.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it's a
And
lot of fun. Did I ever tell you I have one funny story to tell you before we log off, unless you have something else to
I had one more
okay,
little snippet for you before the
give me a
race
snippet.
starts.
Okay.
So we have the person who says riders up is a big deal before the race. They give the riders up command. That's when the jockeys get on the horse and they go to get in the starting blocks. This year we might have a little exciting one. We have Simone Biles, gymnastics legend, so maybe she'll do some kind of backflip or something fun,
Maybe she'll flip off a horse.
or onto a horse and then say riders up.
I mean, that would be a game changer.
So Simone, I know you're listening. Take our advice, maybe flip onto a horse and say riders up.
I'm here for it.
So
I like that. Okay, well,
There's a free tip.
I love a little Simone Biles,
Yes.
and if they have to carry her over the mud, she's a lot easier than people lighter than people they've carried before.
Look up Jack Harlow's video.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Okay, I don't wanna make this too long, but I've got a really
Okay.
funny story.
Please do.
So, when the Derby's over, obviously, traffic is ridiculous, and it's in the middle of a neighborhood.
Mhm.
So you're driving through this neighborhood. So the bus that we were on, bumper to bumper traffic, and people in the neighborhood use this as an opportunity to sell food and snacks because once again, everyone's had too many mint juleps.
Yeah.
And so we are going along in this bus. It's 7 o'clock at night. We've been there all day. We're so tired. Reagan, my husband, says, "You see that guy up there selling Jello shots?" I was like, "Yes." He goes, "I'm gonna jump out and get some for the bus." I was like, "Oh, are you sure we should drink someone's random Jello shots from the side of the road?" I mean, they're in
Yes.
their front yard, but so he hops off the bus, and we're going that slow that there's no way he was gonna miss us. So he hops out, he buys as many Jello shots as he can fit in his shirt, like he has them carried in his shirt, and gets back on the bus and starts handing out. He has like 50 Jello shots and starts handing them out to people on the bus. So there's that.
How did those go down as a nightcap?
Oh, I mean, nothing like an orange Jello for a nightcap. And with that, we will horse hobbying. What was it called again?
Hobby horse. Hobby
Hobby
horse.
horsing. Check it out. And unicorn with wings carry us out. Thanks for joining us.